Welcome to another video. In this video we're going to explore how to locate fish in a new territory, or how to locate fish in your area using maps, different tools available to you. This will be some good tips and tricks on how to find the best water. So I've got a few ideas here to share with you. The first one is state conservation brochure or fisheries brochure map. So let me grab those right quick and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so I just grabbed these. This is what I'm referring to. These brochures from your state, fisheries department or whatever. This is what you want. This would probably be the best place to start. I've just got these kind of spread out on the bed here. So one thing that this will have is regulations like this, and it'll show you, blue ribbon areas, red ribbon areas, different things like that. The mileage of the stream that's considered trout water, or whatever type of species you're trying to fish for. These maps show, the rivers by area. They'll show you springs. They'll show you public access points. And in general, when you're looking at maps like this, you want to look for a lot of green. You want to look for national forest stuff, access like that, with these color-coded areas, because that's going to really, here's this light green is CA, that's a conservation area. These things are really going to highlight where access is easy. Here's a Georgia one. Got some notes in there. You can see all the green, the blue. Over here, year-round trout stream is green. So that means water that can be harboring and hosting trout and reproduction year-round. Seasonal trout stream means, they're going to have to stock it and it's going to get too warm in the summer, but it's cold enough in the winter. Those maps are a great place to start. Go to a bait shop or a place where you can buy a fishing license or a conservation area and get those types of maps for your location. It'll oftentimes cover your whole state. Okay, so here's one that I got for smallmouth bass and goggle eye, because now that I'm in Missouri, I was interested in catching smallmouth. Special management area maps. You can see all these listed here, and I basically looked through the maps on the following pages and then looked on Google Maps to see which of these are closest to me. I identified that some of these are pretty close to me, and I'll flip to one of them is Big River. I live kind of in this direction, and then one of them is Merrimack River is a big one, etc. So let's just look at the Merrimack. See this green right here? This is a conservation area, just like I was showing a second ago in the video. This is a state park. These red things are access points, the red circles and triangles. Roughly, you can assume that the management areas are going to be where the fish are and are there in a plentiful enough manner for them to have a management area. So down here you can see these yellow ones. So smallmouth need a little bit cooler water, and there's a spring up here. So you can just start with these types of maps and go find them, but I do have a few other tips I want to share with you around this type of thing. Okay, so just to recap so far, our main kind of tip is find these conservation area maps and fishing maps, and look for green areas on them and look for the right kind of color of water based on what the key of the map is. Now we're going to dive into Google Maps and get a little more detail. This is a creek that I identified in the smallmouth bass management area brochure. And then I looked along that creek. There is some access points detailed in the brochure, but then I looked along that creek on Google Maps to figure out my own type of thing of where to actually find them. So you can see on here that the creek goes along, and there's no green. But then when you get to these green areas, those are like little city parks, county parks, and things like that you'll have access at. And that is really what you want to key in on. So there's several along this section, and so this whole town is 40 minutes from me or something, and it's great to be able to access a few green spots like that. And there's walking paths along the creek, or there's going to be trails or whatever. Okay, that's one. Now let me show you another one. one thing you are going to want to look for when searching for fish along or fishy spots along rivers is turbulence. You're going to mainly look for things like mills, dams, shoals. These are going to be areas that you can wade and get out on the rocks. They're going to be areas that create a lot of oxygen for the fish, and they're just a good way to concentrate fish in a river. So let's dive back into the screen recording here, and I'll show you what that looks like. So here is the brochure version of a map of the Chattahoochee, and you might identify these green areas as good access points, which would be somewhat correct, but for the wade fishermen, there's another element to this. Basically, you don't want to just be identifying access points along the river. As a wade fisherman, you need to be identifying access points that have rocks and shoals that you can get around on for your wading. And so a way to do that is using satellite view of the map. So for example, you've got say Abbott's Bridge here. You might see in your brochure that Abbott's Bridge is green, and that's an access point. There's a boat ramp, there's picnic, parking, whatever. You go over here to Google Maps and you find Abbott's Bridge. Oh, sweet, look, this is gonna be a good fishing spot. I can tell because it's on the brochure and it's green and it's an access point. So you zoom in on Abbott's Bridge, but look what happens when you change it over to satellite view. And you zoom in here, you can see that this is just all dark, flat, slow water. This might be a great spot, and this boat ramp might be good if you had a boat, but there's not really any shoals or any turbulence along here stirring up the water, creating oxygen, as well as providing you a place to walk around. So, not to say don't fish Abbott's Bridge. There's actually a video on this YouTube channel of my friend catching a gigantic brown, and it was, not to get too specific, but it was pretty close to that section. Okay, so say we flipped over back to the terrain, the normal map, and we went down to another access area, go past Medlock Bridge, etc. Contrast what we saw at Abbott's Bridge with what you see at Jones Bridge when you change over to satellite. So here's the Jones Bridge sections. Similarly, you can see them on the Chattahoochee River map, so I'll show that to you as well right quick. See, so Jones Bridge Shoals. It's got access on both sides of this park. So if you flip over and you look at Jones Bridge, but you change it to satellite mode. Now this is all back in Atlanta. Obviously, this is not where I'm fishing now in Missouri, but look at the difference. I mean, see all these rocks and shoals and turbulence and islands? This is stuff you can get around on as a trout fisherman. And you can learn a lot by looking at these maps and seeing kind of the river bottom here as well. So that's my last tip. Look for mills as well. Look for shoals, things like that. That's the last tip for this video. It creates a lot of areas for you to get around on, and it's just, yeah, it's going to be better for the wade fishermen. There's one more thing I wanted to say about this. Oh, obviously these satellite images can't always be relied upon, so you might come across a section on your river where it doesn't look like there's any shoals because the day that they took that satellite image, the water was really high, and it will mask the true access of the area. So that's kind of the caveat there. But in general, you can kind of do this thing here of look for green areas and then switch over to satellite and find those that have the most blockages, dams, mills, turbulence, and that'll be where you want to go and focus on. All right, so thanks for following along in this video, and if you liked it or if you have any comments, put those below. Hit like, hit subscribe, and I will see you in the next one where we kind of put all of this to the test and hopefully catch some fish back in the smallmouth realm.